bureaucracy. They claim, oh, we're protecting FBI agents. They're not protecting FBI agents. All right, we don't condone violence. We love our good cops. We don't like bad cops. We don't like people that are involved in entrapment operations months back trying to coerce people to get inside the Capitol. Everybody that knows everything about the J6 movement, it was a peaceful protest. They had no intention of kicking down the doors and busting into the Capitol. That was all instigated by corrupt government agencies, i.e. the FBI and many others. That's what we need the files to disclose that. Once we do get, and you saw that all the pushback about getting those 1,000 FBI agents' names, that's been disclosed. Now we're going to be like, okay, we got names. I want the files on every single one of these agents. We want to know who they were talking to, who their Antifa buddies were, so that we can blow the lid off this thing and get real justice for our J6ers and for Americans. Because what this is about freedom. This is about freedom from a DOJ that was weaponized against a political movement. This can never, ever happen again. We're going to stop that. We're going to stop it. Obviously, we're going to sue the hell out of the FBI agents, and we want everybody fired that was involved with this. Now, Trump is looking at 3 levels down, firing people from a lot of agencies that he should. It needs to go much deeper. This swamp is fully integrated with Obama Marxist leftists that need to be rooted out and eradicated. That is part of our mission.
Yeah, I would say about 90% of the bureaucracy is all swamp creatures that need to be routed out, And once we get all these criminals out of our government and all these shady individuals that want to make kickbacks with pharmaceutical companies and lobbyists in D.C., once they're all out of there, I think that this country is going to sort itself out real quick. And the morality of the country is what we need to work on next. Once we get the criminals out and all the people that have been hamstringing our society off a cliff, then we start bringing God back into the equation, morality, and we start really focusing on turning this republic into the golden era that Trump says he's going to bring it into.
100%, brother. And I need to say a word that they don't like to say. A lot of these government people are Satanists. That word needs to get out because these people, a lot of them are pedophiles. Yep. A lot of them are involved in straight up drug trafficking. A lot of them are involved in just pillaging, as we're seeing now through the efforts of Doge. They're pillaging taxpayers, and taxpayers have had enough. There's many families are working 2 jobs just to make ends meet. That has to stop. Thank God President Trump is kicking the door down, and I believe the hand of God was behind this and spared Trump's life for this movement. Because without Trump, it would not have happened. He has put in the A-team in his cabinet, and now the people have to keep the fire on them to keep pushing and making sure that justice is going to be served. And that's what we're doing in the J6 movement. In podcasts like this, I'm going to be co-hosting Corsi Nation starting next month. As we get information from the files, we're going to be disclosing this. And we're not going to leave any stone unturned. We're going to dig deep, not just the bureaucracy. We're going to expose how people like Nancy Pelosi have become millionaires.
Yeah.
That needs to get out. And I'm talking going back deep all the way to Dick Cheney and Halliburton.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we need. We need a thorough audit of all of these people that have been in government for over 20 years that made a certain salary, and all of a sudden they got $20 million higher than their salary. Some have $100 million more than their salary is within the years that they worked. So that money's coming from somewhere, and that somewhere isn't honorable. You know what I mean? It's all insider trading deals, and enough is enough. We're taking our money back, and we're going to leave these people with frozen assets, broken in prison.
Absolutely. Are you looking for access to J6 videos, like from CCTV footage and body-worn camera?
Yeah. We do have a collection of a lot of that. I mean, we're working with, I don't know if you know Trennis. He pretty much wrote the J6.
Trennis Evans?
Yeah, he wrote that encyclopedia. He's connected with a lot of J6ers, and we do have a ton of video on that, our own video, a lot of video that the feds and others haven't gotten. But we do want the internal stuff. We want CCT and things like that. But really what we want is going months before. We believe this stuff happened months before J6. We believe this was an entrapment operation where the government infiltrated in groups like Oath Keepers, Proud Boys, and they had bad actors that got into these groups and really took over the J6 event and went in there. And then, of course, the Capitol Police just opened them, let them come in. They welcomed them in. And then once they were in, they were trapped in there. And then you had people like Michael Byrd who murdered people.
Yeah.
Ashley Babbitt is who he murdered. We can say it
as you know, he needs to be tried for murder. Yeah. It's just sickening the fact that he was promoted after that.
They all get promoted after they do some damage on people. They all do. Bagshaw, Fanone. Well, Fanone quit because he's a loser anyways. But I'll tell you, the people that you name, those are friends of mine. I've watched over 10,000 hours of video footage. I have a lot of it that I downloaded when I was told not to, and I didn't really care. So I have a lot of that stuff. It's what's great to have with the body camera when you start learning how to watch this stuff is you got to listen, not just watch. You got to listen because you hear radios in the background and stuff. Lila Morris, I uncovered her murder with Carrie Castronova. Fanone. It's not easy to sift through that stuff. Believe me, no. It's tough, and you probably know that by now, and where to go, where to look, and because you spend, like I said, over 10,000 hours in the last 3 years for me. But I like the direction you're taking. One of the things I was trying to think about what's next is I know what's next for me is that I want to start putting the videos out that the defendants, their attorneys, put forth to the courts, and they would not submit it.
That's
and
right.
It's exculpatory. So now
right.
It's time to show what these judges, how they play along with the prosecutors, because they're all corrupt in D.C. You don't have a fair trial in D.C.
No way.
So my thing is now I'm going to start putting the videos about how this was submitted and was not allowed in court because it's exculpatory.
Absolutely. Those are called Brady violations. And they were every J6er, I think their cases were rampant with Brady violations. I think we got somebody here tonight, Gabriel Garcia. He was in the Capitol. He was a former Army captain, Bronze Star decorated. He went through there and he actually won his case because he had a biased DC judge. He won on appeal pro se because his lawyers were afraid to buck the system. He did it pro se, but he told me the night when the feds, DOD, about 5 government agencies came in, he was red dotted all over. They probably had 15 guns on him. He said, I want a lawyer, and they laughed at him. They said, this isn't Hollywood. And then they said, where's your phone? He said, I want a lawyer. They took his phone out of his pocket. 2 agents held him down. The other agent put the phone to his face, and they unlocked it because he had facial recognition, and that's how they got into his phone. This is the sick, egregious deprivation of constitutional rights that's going on in this government. And like you said, brother, it has to be exposed.
Yeah.
And not only exposed, people need to do more than just get fired. They need to go to jail.
They need to go to jail. Absolutely. They better go to jail.
Hell yeah, because then it happens again. And we need to start using the word that the Democrats hate to use. And that's called accountability. Because they're all corrupt as hell and they hate being investigated. I mean, we see what's happening on this, with all these investigations and all the money that's being wasted. And it's quite clear what's happening. I mean, the leftist networks have been in disarray. They're firing half of their anchors because they don't know what to do. But the American people know what's going on, and it's quite binary. It's quite black and white for the American people. It's either you're a patriot that believes in honesty and a good government, or you're a traitor that's a corrupt scumbag that's just about milking the system. That's really the 2 choices right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think a big thing with the mainstream media that lets them get away with all these lies with no accountability whatsoever is something that Obama signed into law in 2012 called the Smith-Mundt Act. And they revised the Smith-Mundt Act to where they made it legal to use propaganda on U.S. soil. So until that exact bill, the Smith-Mundt Act, is repealed, this is going to be a revolving door of BS out of the mainstream media, and it's going to be nothing but propaganda. So that's got to be pushed by the American people, that we need to repeal that bill.
100%. We
And I'll
saw
tell you, you
what
said that
happened.
you said it started before J6, and you're completely right, because it's part of this started at George Washington University. And that's something we're working on to bring out, because that's where you heard all your acronyms about homegrown terrorism and all this crap. That Pelosi and everybody would start using these acronyms before J6. And it's, you know, the hardest thing to put together that I'm trying to do is the timeline you see through these project papers. And who's writing these project papers worked for Obama.
Oh, yeah. Well, what really happened, to be honest, when it got out of control was the first Trump presidency. If you remember, 2/3 of his presidency was nothing but Russia, Russia, Russia. Yep. They had this scumbag, Michael Steele, making stuff up. That really showed how the news, the legacy news media, was completely entrenched with the Marxists and the Democrat establishment. And they went to no end to just make up phony lies. And that is when it really started hardcore. Then, of course, they stole the 2020 election. And that's really why I think that the J6ers are true patriots. And I really would like Trump to give them a presidential medal of freedom, because what they did is they were the vanguard. What they did is they said, look, we know this election is stolen. We're going to do something about it. It was peaceful. Like I said, this was an entrapment operation, a setup by the federal government to coerce them to get in. And that's why they should all be pardoned, bear none. Whenever you have that type of entrapment operation, it's not a question of, oh, it's trespass or this or that, or no. This was a setup operation by the federal government, full pardon. But they were the ones that the media feared and the establishment feared, because they did something about it. And that's what they don't like. They don't like us speaking our voices. How much censorship have we faced in the past 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, a lot. It's been nonstop.
You know, it's been not the only reason that you know shows like this are existing now is because Trump won. Because the next thing that would have happened is they would have canceled everybody.
Yeah,
you know, Facebook. Yeah, you know James better than anybody. You know, you've been dealing with this for years.
Yeah, I mean, they cancel you, they demonetize you, they put you on the lower end of the search feed so nobody could see you, and you know that's their technique to suppress the truth. And it only goes so far though, because we're at critical mass right now, and the amount of information that we get out, even if it's being seen by 50, they're sharing it and they're sharing it and they're sharing it. So we're kind of overriding the censorship. The main thing we got to get over is the algorithms. Whoever's in control of these algorithms inside these companies, these big tech companies, they need to be fired, and these algorithms need to be corrected to actually let the genuine searches come up instead of mainstream media all the time. Because there are videos that have 10 times the amount of numbers and views and circulation than mainstream media, and they're buried under about 30 pages of nonsense.
100%. And we really need legislation on this, because what a lot of these social media companies do, they say, oh, we're not government actors. We're a private company. Constitutional rights don't apply to us. We need to change that.
Yeah,
I mean,
we got to turn them into a public
it's quite
entity.
easy.
Yep.
Yeah, it's quite easy to change it. You don't have to rely on the Constitution. You can make a law that says if you're such and such size, if you reach this much of the population, we need to regulate you the same way that we regulate every other large business.
Yeah.
So that has to happen, because without the people's voice, that's the First Amendment. That's the most important amendment. It's there for a reason. Yeah. Because if you cannot speak, if you cannot do political expression like the J6ers, that is how tyranny takes root, and then you can't stop it. And then, of course, the second most important amendment is the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, because when the government does do tyranny, we need arms to stop them.
Exactly.
So,
and a well-regulated militia was supposed to be a normal thing. Like it's not a militarized group. It was supposed to be the citizens that went to school, and while they were in school, they learned about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and took shooting classes. It wasn't too far ago when where kids were bringing their rifles to school to have shooting practice.
I used to take my shotgun to high school because we go dove hunting after school.
Yeah, and they did away with that, and then tried to make it not normal that to kids for shooting guns, and then they're like, oh my God, if your 10-year-old shoots a gun, he's a future terrorist. It was all a big fraud, and
well, it's all a propaganda thing. What it is they want to get people not liking guns, just like they're trying to get people to not like family values. And all of this, they're pushing this transgender woke garbage. It's really just to destroy the family. Because what they want is they don't want a strong family. They don't want a strong father figure that's guiding a family. What they want is the children to be taught by the school system.
Yep.
So that they can shove their woke Marxist garbage and brainwash our kids and turn them into these green-haired monsters who can't do anything but do activism. And then they're depressed. They can't have a normal life. They can't have a family. They're on drugs. Half the time they end up killing themselves. So they're destroying our youth. But the youth is starting to see. I mean, we saw in this last election, the youth is starting to see, look, these teachers are basically, they're not having my best interest when they're feeding all this crap, to me, this DEI woke garbage that has come to light. And the pendulum is swinging back quite fast.
Yep. And when it's going to hit them, man, it's going to crush them. And I can't wait. So we got good times
hell
ahead.
Yeah. Hell yeah, it is. I don't know, James, if Gabriel Garcia is in the waiting room. I don't know if you want to bring him in because I know he's got a 7 o'clock.
Yeah. What do you call it? Do we have anybody else on hold that we can bring in? All right, we're going to bring Joshua in. All right, yeah, bring him in. And yo. What's up, man?
How you doing, gentlemen?
What's going on? How are you?
How are you?
What's going on, Josh? Good to hear your voice, brother.
You as well, brother. God bless, Godspeed, everybody. You've been listening. You've been doing some great conversation here. We got a bunch of J6ers here kicking it live in the flesh. We all meet up down here in South Virginia. What's up, brother?
What's up?
How you guys doing? Thanks for pulling us in and talking about all things that matter for J6ers in our community at large, man. Let me get rid of the background so you can see us a little bit better.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, I thought you had a ghost behind you or something.
Yeah, something was flashing in. Looked like
freedom
Chris
ghost.
Quaglin for a minute.
freedom ghosts over here. Pull in, guys.
Josh, tell us who you got. You got some of the original
There you go.
J6.
A little bit further. There
What's
you go.
up, boys?
Yeah, we can see you guys. What's up, guys?
There you go. Tony.
Somebody's going in and out. Get him a little closer to the camera, Josh.
God, how many?
All right.
Get right up there next to you.
Tony Lamata, who was in
Tony Lamata.
Fedlow and also Philadelphia with me back in November 5th of 2020. Go ahead, gentlemen. Each give a name and face. You're fading in. The ghost of freedom there. Brian Brock here with me behind. You just saw him on Steve Bannon at CPAC. All
What's
right.
up, brother? Good to see you, man.
What's up, bro?
Yeah, in and out. There we go. We'll get the camera on, Mike. Yeah, you're fading into the
Don't move.
Please say hey, baby.
And I'm Chris Quaglin.
I knew it was you.
Yeah. How's it going, guys?
What's up, brother?
Good, good,
What's
good.
going on?
Getting here.
Come on, Sal.
It won't get me from his
There you go.
There's another one. There's
Oh, there it is.
tech support. All right, guys.
There you go. So
Thank you again.
what's some updates we got coming out?
Yeah, updates. Well, I think, a lot, right? I mean, what matters is that we're being heard and that the voices are being communicated and that we're going for the receipts. I think Derek pretty much laid that out there. But one of the things that people don't understand is that, guys, we're just getting started. Okay, this is not even.
Hell yeah, we are.
Well, this is not even the beginning of the beginning. And at the same time, what we're dealing with are all our lives getting restarted. Okay. For Tony and I, it's been 4 years that we've been fighting the system. And for others, the same. We're just, for the past numerous years, we've been caught up in this lawfare and what it takes to get your life restarted after something like this happens. And then all the subsequent veteran community engagement that's needed. The veterans have had their rights all but revoked of support. So for J6 vets in our communication there. And then our patriot partners here who are also going through getting their life restarted. That's what we want to focus on. Like, let's just get people healthy and get their mindset in the right direction, get them back on their feet, because we're coming for the receipts, and we're going to be coming for those who came after us in the deep state.
Yes, we are. And James, one thing, the veterans' values, morals, beliefs align 100% with MAGA, Ultra MAGA, and the populist movement. We are combining, we're forming an army is what we're doing. And we're going to make sure that the left and these Marxists can never, ever do what they did again, throwing our honorable patriots in prison, treating them like hostages. Maybe you guys can talk about a little bit of the hell that they put you through in that DC gulag.
I'm going to get out of the front chair, but other than, for me, it was 21 days in total isolation in Philadelphia gulag in November. Until I got out on Thanksgiving Day when they posted bail for me. They kept Tony in there for 30 days under isolation in Philadelphia. And then I'm going to sit out of the front seat and let our brothers share some more details. Here, mic it up, bro.
Wow. I'll sneak in, be real quick, and then
That's a
jump out the way.
shame, man.
Hey, guys.
Hey, what's up, man?
Let me throw that on here, make this look good.
Brian
Professionals-
Mock, what's up, brother?
Hey, I was gonna say, is that Chris? I know that guy.
That's good.
So, yeah, so I guess I don't know where to start. So we just got down here from CPAC. I literally just drove in, and CPAC was crazy. Went down there, nobody knew who the heck we were. By the end of it, they're running up to us in the morning, asking for autographs and taking selfies. And I think we won CPAC. That's Jan
I would
6
say so.
definitely won CPAC.
Yeah.
Yep. It was amazing. So for me, I guess well, I can't even say it was the highlight, but it was definitely one of them was the Bannon interview. I came in there, got on with Stuart Rhodes and Mark McCloskey, and I kind of took over the interview a little bit there. But Steve loved it, kept going with it. And he's like, I got two high profile guys sitting over here to my right, and nobody knows who I am. They throw me the mic and I start talking about the gulag. And next thing I know, I got people crying in the audience and coming up to me afterwards, throwing me $100 bills going, here, I'm so sorry, like use this and keep fighting. And I'm like, wow, okay. I guess I got a story. So here's where we're at on this. This is what I was talking to him about. Yeah, when I got in the gulag initially, so I initially made bond in Minnesota, and then they appealed it to the DC courts. And that chief judge at the time was this hardcore lefty activist. And she literally screamed at me in court, called me a leader in this, said I was single-handedly responsible for making America a laughingstock, and then said there were absolutely no conditions she could place on me where the general public would be safe if I was released.
Yeah.
For two alleged pushes.
Same thing.
Okay.
Tony and I.
Is that not insane?
That's
so
crazy.
I get kidnapped, shackled, thrown on Con Air, driven across the country, or flown and driven across the country, and thrown in the DC gulag. They tell 120 black guys that I'm racist, extremist, and dangerous. And then for 2 hours a day, they open up the cells and they go, hey, mingle. And so at that point, I was supposed to be over in the J6 pod, which Quagland eventually came in shortly after me into that pod. And nobody told me. I didn't know there's any other Jan 6ers there. So I'm figuring that this is it. I'm dead. And for 30 some odd days, I had to fight on a regular basis until I finally I stood up for this young black kid against some cops. And they at that point, those officers I stood up against, their plans were thwarted. And then I became a little bit of a folk hero to all the guys in there. And I asked them at some point, I'm like, hey, is anybody gonna mess with me now? And they're like, oh no, man, you're just light skinned. You're good. You're one of us. I was
That's
like,
great.
thanks, guys. Cause man, like I was sweating real bad for a
Hey,
few
man.
minutes.
Hey, real recognizes real no matter where you go. So,
Exactly.
Facts.
So I finally found out there was a Jan 6 pod. I fired my attorneys, represented myself, and then got put in the Jan 6 pod. So I showed up there. I started writing motions. I tried to start throwing the evidence that I could, a little bit that I got a hold of, out to the public, and that had only come through my standby attorney. So it's just one document. Luckily, it was 850 pages of just damning information to the government. So I used that to get out, but they didn't give me the government never gave me directly any of my evidence. So except for that one document that was just handed to me by my standby attorney, they denied us access to all our discovery. They denied us access to pens, paper, the ability to send legal things. They denied us access to haircuts, medical care, food for sometimes days on end.
How many days did they not give you food, man?
I mean, at one point, in one jail, it was 21 days I didn't eat. I lost 30 pounds.
Oh my
That's
God.
torture. That's straight up torture.
Yeah, that's torture.
Just on that point. you
That's like
shared
cruel and unusual punishment.
Bring that up?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, so at one point I asked for my discovery. I was sprayed, beaten, and thrown in the hole for over 100 days straight. And I eventually got in front of my judge and said, look, Your Honor, I've been in here for over 15 or 100 days straight. Anything longer than 15 days by international standards is considered torture. And they had kept, at that point, I was the longest one who had been in there. Since then, I think this became commonplace. Whenever somebody stood up against them and pissed them off, I think all these guys at one point or another got thrown in.
Immediately, once any type of communication with the outside world, they immediately threw us into isolation. Tony and I, from day one, were put in there in Philly. Scoot in here, brother.
Yeah.
We're put in there in day one in Philadelphia. And then it was 21 days of pure isolation, where 3 days we couldn't, 4 days at a time, couldn't even leave to get any air whatsoever. And it was their goal to just burn us out, right? And they started on us first, Tony and I, on November 5th. And then they made it a plan. They rinsed and repeat if they got away with it with every other J6er thereafter. And after 15 days, man, of isolation, it really does mess with you mentally, spiritually, and physically.
Yeah.
And the amount of, I mean, look, in the work that I did in counterterrorism and counter-narco-terrorism, we took a lot of guys to Gitmo, and we never treated them the way that we were treated as service-connected, honorably service veterans. We would get totally thrown underneath the UCMJ for that kind of treatment. And they did this to us as American citizens.
Yeah,
We weren't even
100%.
found guilty
Yeah,
of anything.
We don't use the word gulag lightly. You know, people say, "Oh, they're just saying gulag is hell no." This is straight up Kremlin gulag abuse that these guys went through. The American people need to know about this. And one thing maybe you can add, Josh, is a lot of people don't know Josh is a chaplain. Part of what him got through that was prayer, belief in God. Him and Tony were in an isolated room, no windows, no bars, straight up isolated. He had half an inch under the door. He was up above all the other prisoners, and he would sing hymns at night at the top of his lungs for all the other prisoners to hear. That got them over. They were trying to turn the prisoners to kill him, to get him shanked in prison. The prisoners respected him. They knew he was a man of God. God got you through that, brother.
He did. The Spirit poured out through that whole environment. The 20 years I've been inside the lay leader community, launched 5 different churches in Virginia, expanded throughout the country in this engagement. But as I was there, I just realized that God was doing this immensely for our country, but that he was telling me that I was there for a reason. And that here the same for the brothers. I didn't know that all this was going to happen thereafter. I just knew that what they were doing to us in my city of brotherly love, where I grew up as a Philly kid, I couldn't believe it, that I was being treated this way as one who came back from war, who served honorably, and coming back to my own community of people I knew that were friends of mine and their brothers who were actually the ones that were putting me in chains. So here, as I'm in Philly and I'm feeling this from the community at the same time, and I just kept being here. Peter to do what he would do and let these doors get thrown down, because it was as soon as they cut off the TV, I just start thinking of the hymns and songs that I did when I was in campus ministry, single ministry, or in the marriage ministry, and standing up at the pulpit. I went through the songs, and after 4 days of going through this with them, 90 men who I never knew said that they would hunger strike with us. And that's when the warden came down and it all changed the whole environment. It was only by the Holy Spirit speaking into their heart that happened, that men I never knew would be able to stand up in unison with Tony and I when they were calling us everything under the sun you can imagine, from being terrorists to blowing up the Civic Center. It's as if he had a bomb in his vehicle. I mean, they made up all this crazy stuff that we had enough ammunition. It was as if they stopped a school shooting. What? Like, it was insane, the kind of stuff that Krasner said at the time, and even still promulgates today as you go throughout the internet and see this stuff. They've juxtaposed and flipped the whole switch as if we were the enemies of the state.
Yeah, which is crazy because, you know, they just flipped everything out. But I'm starting to run out of time here. Are you guys available next week, maybe to jump on again and we can do a continuation?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause,
We
well,
got another show coming up.
yeah, we got another show coming up right after me. But I appreciate you guys coming on. I'm going to give you some more time next week. I'll give you 45 minutes instead of the half hour. And we'll get all these stories out. And I'm going to fight for you guys. We love you. And we appreciate, you know, all your hard work and your bravery going through all this.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Thank
Hey,
you, brother.
remember-
Good to see you guys. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks,
Remember-
guys. God bless.
For j6vets.org, where we have more information for all the things that we're doing for our veterans that are going through this. There's many vets, and then our compadres, our patriots that are working alongside us. We're pulling that together within our association. But please share with your community, j6vets.org, and you can find me on Twitter at RealJoshMacias.
Fight, fight, fight.
Fight,
Fight,
guys.
fight, boys. Thanks, Derek. I'll talk to you guys soon. God
Thanks,
bless.
brother.
See you.
And with that, we're going to close out the show. We got Gary McBride over here, M5 News. I'm James Justice. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and I will see you next week.
Right on, guys.